You are about to see a presentation on the fascinating world of ancient China. Before we do that, however, I'd like to introduce artist Tiffany Chang. She's the creator of these interesting, historically significant paintings of ancient China.
Hello, everybody. I'm looking forward to sharing with you my paintings of ancient China, and I hope you enjoyed them.
Have you ever fantasized about time travel? About going back in time, say 2,000 or 3,000 years, back to a time before there was any modern transportation. There were no cars, no trains, no planes taking you across the ocean in a single day. Back to a time before there were even buttons. If you wanted to fasten your clothing, you used a belt. Back to a time when ancient emperors wore golden robes and they ruled the land. That's the world of ancient China, and that's where we're going to go during the next few minutes in this presentation. We're going to do this by looking at a series of paintings by Tiffany Chang. Now, she's a current artist, but her paintings reflect the evolution of Chinese art over the past several thousand years. Chinese art, by the way, is the oldest continuous tradition in the world of art. It's been going on for several thousand years, and it keeps growing. As a matter of fact, today, the world of Chinese art is bigger than it's ever been. You may realize there's a bit of a strained relationship right now between the Chinese government and the US government. And part of the result of that is the Chinese government has decided not to let any Chinese art leave China. So Chinese art that's in China today stays in China. Why that's significant is that it's caused a scarcity of Chinese art all over the world. And as you know, anytime there's a scarcity, prices go up. So the value of Chinese art today is huge. Let me give you an example. Christie's has an auction every year. It's called Asian Art Week, and it's in New York City. During the last Asian Art Week, a single collection of Chinese art sold for $333 million. That's the largest price ever paid for a single collection of art. And it's not only ancient art from China that's valuable. Even current famous Chinese artists are getting incredibly large prices for their art. You may have heard of Ai Weiwei. He's one of the more famous Chinese artists today. The average auction price for his art is $731,000. Another famous artist is Jia Aili. The average auction price for his art is $647,000. That's for one piece of art. If you were to put that piece of art on your wall, you would have paid more for that art than most people pay for their entire house. And it's not just these two artists. I mean, I looked at a list of about 12 famous Chinese artists just last week, and they're all getting incredibly high prices like these for their art. So what I'd like to do is I'd now like to look at the world of ancient China through the eyes of artist Tiffany Chang. What I'm going to be talking about is landscape painting. That's significant because landscape painting is considered the highest form of Chinese paintings. It's significant because it not only shows the beauty of the landscape, but it shows the emotion of the scene. And let me give you an example. The name of this painting is Water Taxi. In ancient China, boats were a major way of getting around. You know, they didn't have trains or boats or cars, so they used boats. And this particular boat is called a Dumu Zhou. It's made out of bamboo. And in this case, if you look at the back of the boat, you'll notice it's being propelled by a rowing oar. In other words, he's propelling the boat by moving that oar back and forth, but he's also steering the boat that way. Now that's significant because today all boats have rudders on them. This boat does not have a rudder. Now the rudder was invented in China in the 1st century AD, which means that the scene you're looking at in this painting is before the 1st century AD. So I'd like to ask Tiffany to explain a little bit about how she got started in art and specifically how she got started in landscape painting.
Let me tell you how I started painting. When I was in the fourth grader, elementary school, I represented my school to compete in the Taipei, Taiwan fourth grader competition of watercolor drawing. And I won third place. My mother got all excited and decided to hire me an art tutor to learn the traditional Chinese painting. I first taught to paint bamboo over and over again because a bamboo painting consists of all the strokes that you needed to paint any other type of painting. After a while, I got really bored with it. So I got a second teacher and he taught me how to paint watercolor. After I come to America, I transitioned into the oil painting to paint landscaping.
Let me show you another landscape painting. The name of this painting is Fishing on Qian Lake. And the scene takes place below the Purple Mountain in Nanjing, China. And if you look carefully, you'll notice that there on the shore, there's a fisherman dangling his line in the water and kind of staring off into space. And another fisherman's on the boat doing the same thing. And then the wife of the fisherman on shore is kind of watching him, hoping he's going to catch dinner for that evening for the family. But if you look up above the boat, you'll notice that the Purple Mountain there is sort of disappearing into the fog. And that kind of treatment of a painting is very typical for scenes in ancient Chinese paintings. This is a painting of a doctor in ancient China. And as you can see, he's arriving by water taxi, like we talked about earlier. And he has a pack sack on his back. Now, Chinese medicine was invented 3,500 years ago in ancient China. So probably what's in his backpack are a series of herbs that he's going to use to treat his patients. The name of this painting is Along the Silk Road. And if you'll notice, if you look kind of toward the bottom of the painting, you'll see a bunch of merchants delivering goods by donkey. Now, back in that dynasty, a lot of merchants used donkeys because they were very strong, they were low to the ground, and they were easy to unload and load merchandise. And probably what's on those pack sacks on the donkeys is silk because it's along the Silk Road. But what really is significant about this painting, if you look at the overall painting, you'll notice that it's not featuring the people, it's featuring the landscape. And that goes along with the Taoist philosophy of people are mere specks in the greater cosmos. And a lot of these paintings will not feature the people, they'll feature the landscape. This is an interesting painting. It's about a female warrior. And in ancient China, actually, women did participate in some of the battles. As a matter of fact, some of them were either the daughters or the wives of royalty, and they kind of added color to the battle. But in order to participate, they had to usually dress up as men because women in those days were not allowed to be on the battlefield. I don't know if you've seen the recent Disney movie, Mulan. Mulan is a legend in China. And the movie's great at kind of depicting her life. And it starts off, she's a young gal and she's very good at martial arts, and she has a very strong qi, which is the power within herself. And her father realizes that she's amazing. And so he says to her, look, I don't mind you practicing martial arts and all that, but I don't want you being in any battles. Well, she didn't want to go along with that. So one night she dressed up as a man. She snuck away from the village and she joined the battles. And she was very good at it. In fact, she was so good, she was better than the men. And she wound up leading the troops. Eventually they found out that she was a female, but at that point she was such a hero, it didn't matter. And she wound up a famous female leader in the battlefields. This is another landscape painting of West Lake, which is near Hangzhou, China. West Lake is in a lot of paintings. And the reason for that is considered to be one of the most beautiful scenes in all of China. And a lot of poets and painters will feature West Lake in their paintings. Now, right now, this is actually a current scene that you could see. If you go to Hangzhou, the city of Hangzhou is located on the northeast corner of West Lake, and it has a boardwalk right along the lake. And so you can stand on that boardwalk and look out, and you can actually see this exact scene. So this could be a 1,000-year-old scene, or it could be a current scene. Well, I hope you've enjoyed a brief visit into ancient China. If you'd like to see more of Tiffany Chang's paintings, you can see them on her website, tiffanychang.us. And what you'll see is additional landscape paintings, portrait paintings, cartoons, and even scenes of what it would be like to be in the various animal signs of the Chinese zodiac.